Hello and welcome to our channel. If you or someone you know has thyroid issues, you may already be aware that diet can play an important role in managing the condition. The thyroid gland is a small butterfly-shaped gland located in your neck that produces hormones that regulate many bodily functions. When the thyroid gland is not functioning properly, it can lead to a range of symptoms, including fatigue, weight gain, and mood changes. In addition to medication and lifestyle changes, such as exercise and stress management, making dietary changes can help support thyroid health. There are different types of thyroid issues, and the most common ones are hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. Hypothyroidism occurs when the thyroid gland doesn't produce enough hormones, while hyperthyroidism occurs when the gland produces too much. Each condition requires a different approach to dietary management, so it's important to work with a healthcare professional to determine which foods to avoid and which ones to include in your diet. Today, we'll be discussing 11 foods that you should avoid if you have thyroid issues, regardless of whether you have hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. These foods can interfere with thyroid function, affect the absorption of thyroid hormone, and exacerbate symptoms. By avoiding these foods, you can help support your thyroid health and manage your condition more effectively. 1. Soy products such as tofu, soy milk, and edamame contain isoflavones, which are plant-based compounds that can mimic the activity of estrogen in the body. In high amounts, these isoflavones can interfere with the body's ability to absorb thyroid hormone. This effect is more pronounced in people who have hypothyroidism or are taking thyroid hormone replacement medication. It's important to note that moderate amounts of soy products are generally safe for people with thyroid issues, especially those with hyperthyroidism. However, it's best to avoid consuming large amounts of soy products or taking soy supplements without consulting a healthcare professional first. Other sources of isoflavones include chickpeas, lentils, and other legumes, but they typically contain lower amounts than soy products. 2. Gluten. People with autoimmune thyroid diseases, such as Hashimoto's thyroiditis, may be more likely to have celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disorder that causes a reaction to gluten in the small intestine. This means that people with Hashimoto's thyroiditis may be more sensitive to gluten, which can trigger an immune response that can further damage the thyroid gland. Sure, here's a further revised section with additional information. People with autoimmune thyroid diseases, such as Hashimoto's thyroiditis, may be more likely to have celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disorder that causes a reaction to gluten in the small intestine. This means that people with Hashimoto's thyroiditis may be more sensitive to gluten, which can trigger an immune response that can further damage the thyroid gland. In addition to celiac disease, some people with Hashimoto's thyroiditis may also have non-celiac gluten sensitivity, which means that they experience symptoms when they consume gluten but don't have celiac disease. The symptoms of non-celiac gluten sensitivity can be similar to those of celiac disease, such as abdominal pain, bloating, and diarrhea. It's important to note that not everyone with thyroid issues needs to avoid gluten. However, if you have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, it's recommended that you get tested for celiac disease and non-celiac gluten sensitivity. If you do have a gluten sensitivity, eliminating gluten from your diet may help reduce inflammation and improve thyroid function. It's important to work with a healthcare professional or a registered dietitian to ensure that you're still getting all the nutrients your body needs if you're avoiding gluten. 3. Goitrogenic vegetables, such as broccoli, cauliflower, and kale contain goitrogens, which are naturally occurring substances that can interfere with thyroid hormone synthesis. Goitrogens can also be found in other cruciferous vegetables such as cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and bok choy. However, it's important to note that the goitrogenic effects of these vegetables are generally only a concern when they're consumed in large amounts or when the person's iodine intake is already low. Iodine is an essential nutrient that is needed for thyroid hormone synthesis, and a deficiency can exacerbate the effects of goitrogens. Cooking these vegetables can help reduce their goitrogen content. Steaming or boiling cruciferous vegetables for at least 30 minutes can reduce their goitrogenic activity. It's also recommended to consume these vegetables in moderation and to ensure that your iodine intake is adequate. 4. High-fat foods such as fried foods, fatty meats, and full-fat dairy products can affect the absorption of thyroid hormone. These foods can slow down the digestive process, which can interfere with the absorption of thyroid medication. In addition, high-fat diets have been shown to impair thyroid function and increase the risk of thyroid disorders. It's important to note that not all fats are bad for thyroid health. In fact, certain types of fats, such as omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish, can actually have a positive effect on thyroid function. However, it's still recommended to consume high-fat foods in moderation, especially if you have thyroid issues or are taking thyroid medication. If you're concerned about your fat intake, it's important to focus on healthy sources of fats such as nuts, seeds, avocados, and olive oil. Low-fat dairy products and lean meats are also good options. Overall, a balanced and varied diet that includes healthy fats and limits high-fat foods is important for maintaining optimal thyroid health. If you have concerns about your diet or thyroid health, it's best to talk to your healthcare professional or a registered dietitian for personalized advice. 5. Sugary foods. Excessive sugar consumption can lead to inflammation and may affect thyroid function. Consuming high amounts of sugar has been shown to increase levels of inflammatory markers in the body, which can contribute to thyroid dysfunction and autoimmune thyroid diseases such as Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Additionally, high sugar intake can disrupt blood sugar levels and increase insulin resistance, which can negatively impact thyroid function. It's important to limit your intake of sugary foods and drinks, such as soda, candy, baked goods, and other sweets. Instead, focus on consuming whole, nutrient-dense foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins. These foods not only provide essential nutrients that support thyroid health, but they also help regulate blood sugar levels and reduce inflammation in the body. If you're craving something sweet, try to opt for natural sources of sweetness such as fresh fruit or a small amount of honey or maple syrup. These natural sweeteners contain beneficial nutrients and won't have the same negative impact on blood sugar levels as refined sugar. 6. Processed foods are often high in salt, sugar, and unhealthy fats, which can all have a negative impact on thyroid function. Excessive salt intake can interfere with thyroid hormone production and contribute to the development of thyroid disorders. Additionally, processed foods are often high in sugar and unhealthy fats, which can increase inflammation and disrupt blood sugar levels, both of which can negatively impact thyroid function. It's important to limit your intake of processed foods and instead focus on consuming whole, nutrient-dense foods. Whole foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins not only provide essential nutrients that support thyroid health, but they also help regulate blood sugar levels and reduce inflammation in the body. If you do choose to consume processed foods, it's important to read labels carefully and choose options that are low in sodium, sugar, and unhealthy fats. Look for foods that are minimally processed and made with whole food ingredients. For example, opt for whole grain bread instead of white bread, or choose low-sodium canned vegetables instead of those with added salt. 7. Caffeine is a stimulant that can interfere with thyroid hormone absorption and may also exacerbate symptoms such as anxiety and insomnia in people with thyroid issues. Studies have shown that high caffeine intake can lower thyroid hormone levels, especially in people with hypothyroidism or those taking thyroid hormone replacement medication. Additionally, caffeine can stimulate the release of stress hormones such as cortisol, which can further disrupt thyroid function and exacerbate symptoms of thyroid disorders such as anxiety and insomnia. It's important to be mindful of your caffeine intake if you have thyroid issues. While moderate caffeine consumption is generally safe for most people, it's recommended to limit your intake to no more than 200 to 300 milligrams per day. This is equivalent to about 1 to 2 cups of coffee or tea per day. It's also important to note that caffeine can be found in other foods and beverages such as chocolate, energy drinks, and some medications. 8. Alcohol. Excessive alcohol consumption can interfere with the conversion of T4 to T3, the active form of thyroid hormone. This is because alcohol can disrupt liver function, which is responsible for converting T4 to T3. Additionally, alcohol can increase cortisol levels, which can further disrupt thyroid function and exacerbate symptoms of thyroid disorders such as anxiety and insomnia. It's recommended to limit your alcohol consumption if you have thyroid issues. Moderate alcohol consumption is generally considered safe for most people, which is defined as no more than 1 drink per day for women and no more than 2 drinks per day for men. However, it's important to note that the impact of alcohol on thyroid function can vary depending on factors such as age, sex, and overall health status. If you choose to drink alcohol, it's important to do so in moderation and to stay well hydrated. Additionally, it's important to avoid drinking on an empty stomach, as this can further disrupt liver function and exacerbate the negative effects of alcohol on thyroid health. 9. Refined grains such as white bread, pasta, and rice are highly processed and have a high glycemic index, meaning they can cause blood sugar imbalances that may affect thyroid function. When we eat foods that are high in refined carbohydrates, our bodies break them down quickly, causing a rapid rise in blood sugar levels. This triggers the release of insulin, a hormone that helps regulate blood sugar levels. Over time, this cycle of blood sugar spikes and crashes can lead to insulin resistance and other metabolic issues, which can further impact thyroid function. Refined grains are often stripped of their fiber and other important nutrients during processing, making them less nutrient-dense than whole grains. This can contribute to nutrient deficiencies that may also affect thyroid function. It's recommended to choose whole grain options instead of refined grains if you have thyroid issues. Whole grains are less processed and have a lower glycemic index, meaning they cause a slower and more sustained rise in blood sugar levels. This can help regulate insulin levels and reduce the risk of blood sugar imbalances that may affect thyroid function. 10. Raw or undercooked seafood. While seafood is generally considered a healthy source of protein and important nutrients such as omega-3 fatty acids, certain types of seafood may be problematic for those with thyroid issues. Some seafood, such as sushi, sashimi, and raw oysters, may contain high levels of mercury, which can be toxic to the thyroid gland. Mercury is a heavy metal that can accumulate in the body over time and interfere with thyroid function. This is especially concerning for people with pre-existing thyroid conditions, as their thyroid gland may be more vulnerable to the effects of mercury exposure. It's recommended to choose seafood that is lower in mercury if you have thyroid issues. Examples of low-mercury seafood include salmon, shrimp, and scallops. Additionally, cooking seafood can help reduce its mercury content. 11. Excessive iodine. While iodine is important for thyroid function, consuming too much iodine can also be problematic. It's important to note that iodine requirements can vary depending on age, gender, and overall health status. While iodine deficiency is a common cause of hypothyroidism in some parts of the world, excessive iodine intake can also be problematic, especially for people with thyroid conditions. Consuming too much iodine can lead to overstimulation of the thyroid gland, which can exacerbate symptoms such as palpitations, weight loss, and anxiety. In severe cases, excessive iodine intake can even lead to thyroid dysfunction and damage. Therefore, it's important to consume iodine in moderation, especially if you have a thyroid condition. The recommended daily intake of iodine for adults is around 150 micrograms per day, but this can vary depending on individual needs. Thank you for watching. If you have thyroid issues, it's important to work with a healthcare professional to develop a comprehensive treatment plan that takes your dietary needs into account. Remember to avoid these 11 foods to help support your thyroid health. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more health-related content.